Hi class. So to go with our order of operations unit, you are going to have to know how to interpret and solve expressions from writing. So this video is to help with that. Take the words that you see and turn it into a number sentence and an expression and how to solve it using the order of operations. Let's go ahead and get started. Whenever you see an expression written in words instead of numbers, keywords can be your BFF. So here are some of the keywords that you might see. There are more, but these are the ones that you might see most often in 5th grade. So for addition, you might see the words sum, add, and together. For subtraction, you might see subtract, difference, apart, taken away, and minus. For multiplication, you might see product, multiply, doubled, tripled, of, and it could go doubled, tripled, quadrupled, quintupled. But in 5th grade, you might only see doubled and tripled. And for division, you might see the words quotient, divide, and groups. So as an example, we see here that we have the sum of 8 and 3. So 8 plus 3 equals 11. Then we have 5 minus 2. That tells me I'm subtracting. So 5 minus 2 equals 3. And then I have the product of 8 and 3. So product means that we're multiplying. So 8 multiplied by 3 is 24. If you have 8 taken away from 19, that means that you're doing 19 minus 8. Don't get tricked up and do 8 minus 19. You're taking 8 from 19, so 19 is the first number that you write in the expression. So 19 minus 8 equals 11. And then you could see something like the quotient of 25 divided by 5. So that's division. And it's 25 with the division symbol. So 25 divided by 5 equals 5. And those are just a few examples that you might see in your workbook or on your test or quiz. So let's put what we just learned into practice. Before we get started, if I know I'm working with the order of operations, which is what we're doing in this unit, I'm going to go ahead and write down my order of operations on the side. That way I can check it off whenever I solve my expression. So my example is write a numerical expression to represent 20 minus the product of 5 and 2. So whenever I see 20 minus the product of 5 and 2, it looks something like this. I have my first number, which is 20, minus, which is subtract, the product of 5 and 2. 5 and 2. So whenever you look at this, I wrote exactly what's there, but not exactly. If I'm subtracting the product of 5 and 2, that means that I also need to add parentheses, because if I just subtracted 20 minus 5, it might get a little funky later. This could technically be correct without the parentheses, but the parentheses make it a little easier for our eyes to recognize. So if you wrote it without the parentheses, that's okay too. Let's go ahead and solve it. So whenever I see my order of operations on the side, I do see some parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that off and underline what I'm solving for. And I know that 5 times 2 equals 10. And it's a good idea to rewrite each line of your expression as you solve. So now I don't see any exponents. I already did multiplication, but that was inside my parentheses. I don't see any division. I don't see any adding, but I do see some subtracting. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So 20 minus 10, and my answer to that is, oops, is 10. Okay. So it's a good idea too, if you're working face-to-face, to circle, highlight your answer. That helps your teacher really see what you're choosing as your answer. Okay, so that's how you would write 20 minus the product of 5 and 2. Let's do another example. So whenever you're working on this unit, you might see some problems that give you some choices, like this one. So it says, which expression represents the phrase 16 divided by the product of 4 and 4? And it's important to note that it wants you to circle all that apply. So it could be more than just one answer. So it might mean that you need to work out every single one and see which ones give you the same answer. So let's go ahead and get started. Whenever I see 16 divided by the product of 4 and 4, I am going to use my order of operations after I write my expression. So 16, oops, let me try that again. So 16 divided by the product of 4 and 4. So the product of 4 and 4 is 4 times 4, but we're doing 16 divided by 4 times 4. So I think it might be a good idea to put parentheses, because in this instance, if we didn't have parentheses, then we would divide first. So it's saying the product of 4 and 4, like it says right here, those two go together and they have to be solved first. So I already see that this one could not be correct because of what I just said. Because technically speaking, because multiplication and division are on the same level, we would divide first and we would get 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then we would multiply 4 times 4 and we would get 16. And that's not the way that we would solve that based on the written expression. Okay, so it can't be A. I do see that B is there. So that's exactly what I wrote. And then I see for C and D that there's two fractions. So let's think about it. Before I solve for those two, I'm gonna go ahead and solve for the one that I know is correct. So I do see parentheses. I'm gonna underline my parentheses. And I know that 4 times 4 gives me 16. So I'm gonna write that down. And then I rewrite the number that's left over. I get 16 divided by 16, and that equals 1. So for these other two answers, I'm looking for the answer 1. Okay, so let's do C, which is this number, or this expression right here. So 16 divided by 4 times 4. So I'm going to write in green. So 16 divided by 4 times 4. Well, I know that 4 times 4 equals 16. And so it's really going to be 16 over 16, which we know that as a fraction, that means 16 divided by 16, which equals 1. So C is going to be a correct answer. And then let's look at D just to make sure. So for D, I have 4 times 4, which is 16. And then 16 divided by 16 equals 1. Well, the rule that I thought would work isn't working for D because it's not exactly how it's being said. Even though the answer is correct and it gives me 1, that's not the same as saying 16 divided by the product of 4 and 4. If it said the product of 4 and 4 divided by 16, then D could be correct. But because of the way that it's written, D would not be correct. So it's important that you follow the order that it's written. So the correct answers for number 4 would be B and C. So hopefully this video has been a little bit helpful for you. If it's not, then you can always ask your teacher for help, log in for office hours. I'm available. Just let me know. Good luck, and you're going to do amazing practicing the order of operations. Bye.